I'm Alec Hanson, and we're here in my office. About to spend the day with mortgage superstar Brian Border and giving him a marketing makeover. This is brand new.
Look like it's time to rise and get in the game. Gonna change some branding, not afraid to fly. I can't even wait to finally touch down with the camera click. Let's light up that stage. Time to start your brand new golden age. It's your time to shine. Cameras on you. Brand new.
Brian, good morning, buddy.
Hey, good morning.
You rode a motorcycle an hour and a half to get down here today. You're a champion.
Well, I had the either the 2-hour drive
Yeah.
with the car or hour and 20 on the bike, and
Dude.
since I didn't have to escort anybody down here, it made sense. So
I love it. Well, it's got to wake you up, get ready to have a fun day filming. So thanks for coming into the studio. I know you've seen a couple brand new episodes, so you kind of know what's going to happen here. But we're going to spend this first part of the day talking about your unique value proposition. So, you know, in the early 90s, UVP, what's your elevator pitch? But when we talk about a brand, you have to start with what is its core foundation. And so for a company, that's easier because you can be like, we stand for this. You know, we make good auto parts. But for a human, it's got tons of layers. It's got tons of complexity. And that's the great part about being a human. And one of the things that we'll start with, but then you'll see transition through all this, is your unique value proposition is literally just you, more of the real Brian. But as salespeople, we mask, we chameleon sometimes, we kind of try to show up, especially when you talk about social media. Man, you see a lot of people out there who are trying to do what somebody else is doing or putting on a mask and pretending. And so we got to start at the beginning of like, who is Brian Border, which is like, okay, it's a pretty big question. But to get there, I have a little sneaky way in. So give everybody a little bit of your history in mortgage. How long you been in the business? Why'd you start? Why do you stay? That kind of thing.
So I've been in the business for this is the 21st year.
Yeah.
I didn't originally get into the mortgage business straight out of college. I had a business economics degree, which was a perfect fit for finance.
Yeah.
But that wasn't my original path. I got into technology consulting straight out of school. Always been in sales, no matter what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was in some sort of consultative sales type role. But technology was my first stop out of college. And I did that for a number of years before I got into the mortgage business. And the sales cycles were so long that, you know, you would be working with somebody for a year, 2 years before a decision was actually made from a, you know, IT director or CIO level person. And so I knew that wasn't, I mean, that was really frustrating. Work with somebody for a year, year and a half, and not get the business because it went out to the lowest bidder. And then I had a friend of mine that I had known for a long time that started in the mortgage business, was extremely successful, having no background, no sales background, no college degree, no nothing. And
You can do it.
Exactly. And so she said, you got to check this out. And it also, it was more than that. Like, my mom had been in real estate for my whole life, and was probably in it for about 20 years when the time came for me to get into mortgage. My dad was an architect, so we were always around houses and real estate, so it made sense. And so I started at a company, AmeriQuest, because you can't just jump into lending at, you know, an A paper, you know, prime place. So you got to cut your teeth somewhere. So it was on, you know, inbound call center.
Yeah.
You know, the 228 with a 3-year prepay, which never really, it didn't sit well with me because I'd bought my own home at that point. My mom was in real estate. I knew it wasn't supposed to be like that, so I didn't spend much time in subprime.
So how long were you in the call center there?
That was only, let's see, that was from, that was like a year and a half.
Year and a half.
And then in 2005, I started with GMAC Mortgage.
Okay.
And that actually came full circle because the manager at GMAC ended up being the regional here at
Yeah.
Lone Depot. So
Yeah.
that kind of came full circle, 15 years later.
That's pretty wild. Okay, so in 2005, you got into the retail side of the business.
Right.
And how did you learn how to go out and get realtors? How did you learn the game?
Well, the biggest hurdle in this business is not constructing a mortgage or learning guidelines.
Yep.
As much as I talk to people and we're recruiting all the time, it's all about who you know.
Yeah.
And that's the most important part. And I'm not afraid to talk about what I do for work amongst my group of friends and my database, my my contacts and everybody that I've met over the years. And if you do that, and you're not afraid to talk about what you do on the professional side with your friends and family, you can build a business around that. And that's essentially what happened for me. I knew enough people, talked about what I did, and the traditional way of referral-based business kind of grew from there. And then with GMAC, there was another component to it. They had special loan programs designed for all the General Motors car dealerships.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the program tagged Family First, and it was a affiliate program, much like our Loan Advantage program that we have here. And so I leveraged that. So it was between family and friends and the car dealership network.
You said something, though, that I really want to pick on for a second, because you said that you were not afraid to talk about what you do, or not afraid to go out there and share your profession and all that stuff.
Sure.
But fears holds a lot of salespeople back. Fear of rejection. Did you ever deal with fear of rejection or any of that stuff, or you just felt like you were immune to it?
I don't know if fear of rejection ever, played a part. I watched some of my colleagues be fearful of talking about their professional work with their friends and family. It was like the no-fly zone,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I don't want to mix business with pleasure.
100%.
But over the years that I've been doing this, most of my friend network, whether I don't golf, all right, but
Neither do I.
But I ride motorcycles, I water ski, and all the friends that I have amassed through these sports and activities have become more clients and help me grow in the referral network through those fun activities. So you just kind of always got to be talking about what you're doing.
Yep.
Make sure they all know that this is what I do for work.
Agree. Okay, so let's kind of unpack who you are professionally. So how do you run your business? What are the core values of how you lead your team and run your business that you are just your standards?
So I would say the one thing that I'm probably different than everybody else, I'm not a micromanager. So if somebody needs a prescribed task list for the day from their manager because they don't know what to do, that's probably not the person that I'm gonna work
Yep.
with. I'm there to support and help drive sales activities and help the loan officers be the best possible version of themselves if they want the help. But I'm not going to be the nagging parent, nagging parent to come down on them every day and tell them what they should be doing. So
Did you have a boss that did that to you in your career, like a micromanaging?
yeah, absolutely. Everybody has in their history, I think, and I don't ever want to be that person.
Yeah.
I want to be looked at as another team member for them that's there to support all of their efforts and help them, either solve problems or create sales strategies. I want to be there 24/7 to help them grow, and that's my number one kind of driving principle.
Why is that so important to you?
I think that's what I want. That's what I wanted as a salesperson when I was getting started in the business.
Yeah. Did you have anybody that poured into you, like a mentor, as you kind of came through the business?
Yeah, so ironically enough, some of the best training on the worst products occurred at AmeriQuest.
Oh, really? Good.
Some of the best sales training, just the fundamentals of,
Yep.
asking for business, providing, the benefits and getting a customer to commit and get to the next stage. While I didn't agree with the products that we were dealing with, the sales approach and the sales training was pretty spot on.
Yep. That's cool. Okay, let's talk kind of like Brian the human, right? So how would you describe yourself?
Easygoing. I get along with everybody. I don't create conflict. I don't like to have conflict in my life. So I stay away from controversial things.
Yeah.
I make it a point, not to bring politics, religion, any of that into the work environment, because I believe that if you do, you are going to alienate 50% of what your client base could be.
Yeah.
You can't. You're gonna push some people away that maybe you would have worked really well together
Yep.
with. I work together with plenty of people that maybe we don't have the same beliefs, but
Yep.
they get the best service from me, and we do business together.
So easygoing, no conflict, no drama. What else? What else is kind of your personality? How would you describe yourself?
I mean, I love to have fun. I love to bring that fun aspect, into the team. I love team building days outside of the office. It is funny though, I make it a habit of, a couple times throughout the year to get people out of the office to go do something fun, and
Yeah.
you can't get 100% participation.
Yeah, no,
you know,
no.
and it's interesting. It's like here you're being offered time outside of the office to do something fun, and you can't get everybody there. So we'll keep working on that.
Let me know when you solve it.
Yeah.
Okay, easygoing, fun, team building, no drama, no conflict. What else?
Competitive. We've created a very solid group of originators in our market, and we continue to do good business, put up solid numbers,
Yeah.
and I like knowing that we're top 10 amongst all of the offices across the U.S. It's been a fun ride. It's been cool to come over here about 7 years ago,
Yeah.
and in my market the brand really didn't exist. So it was neat to bring that to kind of a top 2-3 spot. I mean, a couple of years ago we were number 1, and,
Yeah.
and so that was exciting.
That's really cool, dude. Let's talk about some adjectives for a second. If I went and asked everyone that works for you to give me a word to describe you, would they use any other words than the ones you've already given me?
You'll have to let me know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'm curious.
That'd be a fun one. We should do that.
You should reach out to a couple.
Let's do this. How if I got your closest friends and family around me and asked them, give me a word to describe Brian, what are they going to say? Or what would you hope they say?
They're probably going to say genuine and accommodating and nice.
Hey,
Just-
nice is good.
Yeah.
What else?
I don't know. Fun.
Yeah.
Active.
Good. Let's go back to professional. Why do you stay in the mortgage business? And let me frame that up a little bit. People know who are inside the mortgage business how crazy stressful it can be, and there's big waves in the mortgage industry. In fact, we're coming out of one right now. So there's always change, and for a guy who says I'm keep the drama away, no conflict, there's high stress in mortgage. So what makes you stick in here and stay in the game like you do?
Well, you're right. I mean, we ride the waves. That's part of this industry, and I'd be lying if I said there aren't sleepless nights, and for a different reason. I came from the banking world I spent 10 years at Wells Fargo, and the sleepless nights there were because operations wasn't functioning
Right.
properly, right?
Different stresses.
Different. Now it's it's a different aspect of sleepless nights, but the wins. I'm competitive and I like to win, right? And the wins are, feel so good when you have those amazing months, or you're overcoming, obstacles with a client that maybe didn't think that they could get financing, or, the list goes on and on, but the highs are high, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what keeps everybody, in it, stretching to win.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so what part of you would you describe? So from a guy who's laid back, chill, genuine, accommodating, I can tell though there's a part of it like an adventure side to you, obviously. Motorcycle, wakeboarding, like you like to challenge yourself and put yourself in those situations. What draws you to that kind of stuff?
Well, I was never any good at team sports. All right, so let's start there. At an early age, I think I tried everything. Sport, I tried basketball, baseball, soccer. Played tennis all through high school, which was, played singles. So that was again somewhat of an individual sport, and then. I got into the non-traditional sports. Let's start with motorcycles, for example. That was because it was off limits from my parents when I was growing up. They didn't. That was not going to happen. So, I started riding. 30 years ago, I guess. Once I got out of college, and I wasn't, living at home anymore, and so.
Sorry, Mom.
So a couple of my buddies and I, we went out and we got dirt bikes, and
nice.
Started on the adventure train, and I grew, even going back before motorcycles, I've always been around the water. I grew up water skiing, and that's something that's remained, at my core.
Yep.
Our whole family's involved in water sports, and I skied competitively through college. And now my son's getting into it, my daughter's into it, so that's something that's kind of carried through the generations. There is the water skiing, but yeah, I don't know where the love for motorcycles came from, and all that stuff, but
well, there's something in there. There's something there because it as a competitive person, I recognize that there's something about risk taking, achieving something. That little bit of danger, but also like accomplishing and challenging yourself to do something. There's a tie-in to your personality that I think is attracted to that, because it's the same thing that I'm noticing, that like the same way you talked about that is the same way I hear you talk about the wins and mortgage, where it's a high stress environment, but you seem to kind of thrive in those places. Is that fair?
Yeah, I can see the analogy. I mean, all of the activities that we're doing, high risk, high reward, I guess. It's self-fulfilling.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so how old are your kids?
I've got a 9-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old son.
Okay. Wow, you're right in the thick of it, man. Mine are 13 and 11, and it's all coming at me. So let's talk about let's go into the let's talk about your kids a little bit. That always gives me good insight. How do you describe your parenting style?
Man, this is interesting. So my son and I are so much alike in our stubbornness, I guess, that we're butting heads right now quite a bit. Even though we do so much together. I mean, he's into the motorcycles. We go dirt bike riding together. He's into the water sports, so we're doing all that together.
That's right.
We do all these adventures together, but when it comes time to just the basic, parent-child respect at home, I'm not getting it right now. So we're figuring that out. And my wife says, hey, it's a phase, they'll grow out of it. And that's probably true. I'm sure it is. But that phase right now from 15 until he goes away to college,
Yeah, it's rough.
possibly.
It's rough.
It's like, do I just allow those next 3 years to be the phase, and then he's
Then he's
gone?
gone.
So I'm wrestling with that. Trying to make him be the best version of himself, and right now at 15, he's on top of the world. His head's this big, and I'm trying to get him to be more humble, be more appreciative, and we're chipping away at that, but it's definitely a challenge.
Well, so outside of the phase moment, which is rough, I totally resonate. If I asked your kids to describe you, how would they describe you?
That's interesting. I get the Father's Day cards from him that says, I love going on all the adventures with you, and it's very nice. And then back to the daily grind.
Yeah.
He wants to butt heads with me on everything, and so I think deep down, there's a high level of admiration towards me and my wife, but day to day it's a little challenging. Although I get something totally different from my daughter.
Well, what would she say? What would she say you're like?
Well, she's a sweetheart to me, and so we have a completely different relationship
Absolutely.
than I do with my son. And she's, I guess there's definitely a different relationship between my son and my wife, and my daughter and myself, and that's kind of the pairing that I would say is working well right now. Like, I get along better with my daughter, and my wife gets along better with my son, and
Tag team it.
Somewhere behind the scenes we need to compare notes and make sure our message to the kids is consistent. But they're great.
How long have you been married?
We just celebrated 17 years.
So you'd say she knows you pretty well.
Oh, absolutely. She'll call me on my bullshit all the time. Yeah.
So how would your wife describe you?
She'll say that I'm stubborn, and
You said that twice now.
I know,
What are you
it's-
stubborn about? Like what's a like?
Well, it really comes down to parenting with the kids.
Yeah, parenting
and
style.
I don't think that the parent should let the kid win.
Yes, you're drawing the line.
Yeah, and I don't let that line be crossed. I, as the parent, am going to have the last word, and my wife is probably of the opinion that just let it go, let the kids have the last word, and but as I mentioned earlier, I like to win, so that goes to the arguments
Yes.
as well. So
Yes,
and my son
you and I
likes
have
to
the
win
same
as
thing.
well.
Yeah, of course. Well, you
So-
made him. Yeah, exactly. So outside of stubborn, how else would you describe you?
I'm extremely generous and giving with my time, and I make sure that we spend a ton of time together as a family.
I love that.
Vacations and weekends and evenings and stuff. So make sure I'm at all of the events,
Yeah.
and we do as a family, we do a lot. So
Very cool. Okay, so as we kind of, I took a ton of notes. This was super helpful, and the reason that we are going through all these questions and talking about family and professional and personal is because a good brand, a good personal brand, knows what it cares about, is very grounded in what it values, and then is able to communicate that consistently through their messaging. So let me give you an example. How long do you have people that have worked with you for a while?
yeah, I've got a number of people that have been with me for I would say between 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, so long ass time, right?
Yeah.
And so those people, they know who you are, they know what you bring, and they value it. And so one of the most important things that you can do as a leader to grow your business or to grow your team is to expose more people to who you are and what you do. The same way would you coach a loan officer, right? Like the more they go out and prospect and market and build relationships, the more business they end up getting. It's a very easy equation. Like if your reach and your audience gets bigger and they know who you are and they know what you do, you get more opportunities. And so that's the same thing with you in this kind of brand exercise, pardon me, we're going through is how do we find out the things that you care about the most that are really core to your value set as a leader, as a professional, and as a human, And then as you turn into your messaging, because we're going to get into this afternoon, like what to say and what videos should I make and what words should I use. You always have to come back to what is the core of your foundation? What does Brian really believe in and care about? So I wrote some things down. I want you to tell me what resonates the most, okay? So one thing you talked about, and I'll just run through this and then you can kind of replay it, was the support for your people. No micromanaging, but definitely always have their back, always there for them. And if somebody's hungry and wants to win, you're there right beside them in the thick of it. You have this kind of no fear aspect of, if you want to win and accomplish something, you have to be willing to go the extra mile, put yourself out there, tell everybody about what you do. You're a bit of a risk taker because you like the big wins and the highs, but you can see it in how you live your life and all the things you do. You put yourself out there into adventure often. And then you also are very, you said stubborn, but I'm going to use the word disciplined. I can tell by how you communicate about all this stuff, like you show up every day. You're very consistent, you're very disciplined, and you have very strong, you have a very strong compass. Like, this is where I'm going and this is it. There's like very clear lines of like what's acceptable and what's not. Any of that resonate with you?
Well, all of it's spot on. And when you mention compass, I have a extremely, my moral compass is we always have to do the right thing, and I think that, as we're going through and helping these customers to the best of our ability, it's always do things the right way. Don't cut corners. There's no room for, gray area tactics. Like, we got to do it the right way.
Yep. Yeah, I can see that in your personality and everything, and all the other things. So, as a leader, would you describe yourself? And I'm going to give you kind of two extremes, and maybe there's a middle ground here. But as a professional and a leader, would you describe yourself as lead from the front? And I'm going to exaggerate this. I'm going to show you how to do it, and I'm going to pull you along behind me to make sure you get to where I'm capable of going and becoming the best version of yourself? Or would you describe yourself more as a lead from the back, which is, supportive, encouraging, uplifting somebody and pushing them ahead versus pulling them along? Or anything in between?
I think it's a mix of both, but I definitely, many times, consciously focus on leading by example. I'm still originating, so that holds true in that if I find something that's working for me, I'm going to share it with the whole group and tell the whole group that, hey, this is what is working. Let's have you all do the same thing, and I'm constantly brainstorming on sales tactics that work.
Yeah.
Video, for example, that's something that is so uncomfortable for me, but I don't know if I'm diving, but I'm definitely dabbling in it, to the best of my ability, and trying to get the rest of the team to, come along with me as well. So definitely the lead by example, definitely resonates.
Do you have a mantra or a saying or a favorite quote or anything like that? Some people do, some people don't. So it's not.
No.
Don't dig too far for that.
Nothing that's rehearsed or comes to mind.
All right. So you fit into a lot of things. And again, what I want to avoid here is typecasting you in your brand identity, because humans are nuanced. Like, you can be a very extreme competitor out in the war field, and then at home with your daughter be very different. And those things are totally can be congruent and connected. They don't have to define you. And so as we kind of try to carve into your leadership, your brand voice, and how you're going to show up and what you want to do, it's okay to have nuance and depth to it. But you definitely have, so in this, Iconic Fox does a great job of showing brand identities, archetypes. And one of them is the hero brand, which is very much the Nike, the just do it brand. But the hero brand isn't really necessarily about themselves. It's about inspiring others to kind of be their own hero too. But it also is a very much lead from the front. And then there's the adventure brand, which is like Jeep and like Patagonia and like kind of like go out and get yours. Life's meant to explore. And there's probably a secondary connection with you and that kind of adventure explorer type, especially when you kind of look at those together. Now you have kind of what I would call like the explorer, like the person who's going to go find a new place and going to bring people with them. So it's just something funny to think about as you look at your style here. But if I had to distill it down and give you my opinion, which I want you to take and then make your own, I think that part of your natural self-expression, Brian, is you're a heroic, out in front, lead by example leader. You have extremely strong moral compass, not just in doing things right, but in also what's acceptable. I heard it in you when you talked about how I don't hire people who aren't really self-motivated, because it's not that you don't have time for them, but you have standards. And your standard is, this is how we win, and this is who I'm going to be around. And so it's not they're less than, or but it's just you have a standard.
Yeah, and going along those lines, there is something that I've always said, and that's I can't want your success more than you want it for yourself.
Yep.
Right. So that's got to be in the basic, wiring of somebody that's going to be on our team. They have to want to be successful. I can't create that for them, and I can't want their success more than they want it for themselves. That's got to be step one.
So, in my opinion, as we look to launch today, and we're going to film content and make messages and build strategies, this is going to be a crucial thing that we have to come back to over and over again to make sure that we are on brand or staying true to what you care about, which for you, Brian, is not going to be a problem because you're not a chameleon. Like, you're not going to show up differently on camera than you do in real life. I know you, and I know that. But some people do. So other people that are listening, it's not about pretending to be somebody else. It's about being your true, authentic self. And we'll see that in Brian as he starts making content and puts himself out there. But the core opportunity here, as we get into marketing and we get into messaging and brand building, is how do we make sure that we get your reach as big and as far as possible? Because clearly, if people have decided to work for you or around you for 10 to 15 years, they know exactly the benefit you give them in being in relationship with you, and professionally and personally. And so that's going to be our core of your brand as we look to step out and showcase it. And when we go right now to the social media audit part, the cool thing is we're going to understand, is your brand actually showing up the way you want it to? Because that's the problem in social media or videos or content. People might know their brand or not, and then you go look at it and it's not there. So when we go look at social media stuff, how can I see the moral compass and the standards you hold? How can I see your risk-taking adventure, winning, out there, building up a great community of people and making their lives better? And how can customers also see that? Like, what do they see? Do they see this like heart and intention and hardworking professional, or is it invisible and they have to find it out elsewhere? So that's the whole intent of this. This is the heart of what we want to showcase, and that will attract the customers, the referral partners, and the employees who want to be around it. Make sense?
Absolutely.
You ready to rock?
Yep, let's do it.
Good job, dude. Let's go. Bam! Boom! And magic. This is now all here, and we weren't gone for 30 minutes while this was set up. Okay, so kicking back in here, after we talked about your brand, its position, its heart, its soul, the things that really matter to you, and that matter to your leadership, matter to the team around you, we get to go to a social media audit, so to speak, and we get to look and go, what do people see? I mean, you know what you bring to the table. Your teammates who've been there know what you bring to the table. Your customers know what you bring to the table. What does the world think you do? Right? And so, you ready to go? A little magical journey?
Yeah, we'll see where this goes here.
So we always start with the old Google, and we have some wins. So right away you can see you're here, right? And you got a little Loan Depot bump that helps our SEO pumps you up there. But then I noticed that, and I'll zoom in on this a little bit. This isn't you. Just answer Stanford. I'm a passionate marketing leader. Okay, but this is you. Found you there, which we'll check out Instagram. Photo came through, so okay, but there's some other Brians here, but I got you. Then here's the real Mr. Border, another
Haven't seen that one before.
competitor for you.
Okay.
There's apparently a CRM marketing 20-year guru, Brian Border, and then we get LinkedIn. So, but this is the bump I wanted to show you. So you have an interesting situation where you have a couple other Brian Borders out there. There are a lot of people that have the same thing. They're fighting for dominance on the first page of Google. And you're clearly winning because you show up on a lot of places. But this is a thing that I can't overstate this. Social media videos boost your search engine optimization. And people can find you better with more when you put out more social media content. And it's one of those things that people don't think about. They're like, oh, I'm making social media for XYZ reasons. And then they don't realize that it actually increases your visibility on Google. So it's a massive win there. So we're going to dive into there and check it out. So let's just go through them, shall we?
Let's do it.
I'm going to start with a warning. First of all, Brian Austin Border. This is you, right?
True story.
I just learned we have the exact same middle name.
Oh, right.
What are the chances? What are the chances of Austins being here together?
I had no idea either. So all right, we learned something new today.
I'm bringing this example up because it looks like an old account. Ish?
Yeah, I mean, Zillow is definitely not something that I do currently, but I did have, what's the realtor agent?
You had a Zillow partnership situation?
Yeah, which we've stopped pretty much all of it.
Yep. Well, I bring this up because there are a lot of people out there, yours was not that bad, who have what I call dead profiles, which is they built something on some site and it was an XYZ company and now they have moved on and it's a dead profile, but it's still clouding up their brand. Yours isn't dead in the sense that like this is Loan Depot, it's accurate.
Right.
It doesn't say a different company. But I noticed that the profile pic is very dated.
Yeah, it's 2 pictures ago.
2 pictures
and
ago.
I wasn't smiling.
No, you're very angry. So I feel a lot of dedication here, but
Can we update that now?
we'll get there. We'll get there. All right, so let's go look at LinkedIn. There you are. So first of all, what a great profile pic, looking good. But I criticize everyone on this, and so you get some of it too. The banner is boring, and it says Team Loan Depot.
Yeah.
I love
You know
it.
who did that, right?
It's probably marketing. Was it me? Personally?
Oh, no, not you personally.
God, I was going to say, if you caught me and it was me.
No. It was here, though.
Absolutely.
They
did it for you, right?
Yes.
So this is another very normal situation for a lot of people. You go to a company, they got a marketing group, they're like, here's some banners, and you pick one. The problem that we have in this is throughout all social media here, this is your first impression chance. This is the place where someone's going to have an instant impression and they're going to start forming opinions. And so all these little touches are places for your brand, for your authentic self to show through a little bit. And so we're going to work on that. But this is a little place to put a message and share some information about yourself. Second, this title. It's another space for a glimpse into who you are, and this doesn't speak to anything. It just says, I'm a bigwig at Loan Depot, where you could start to put in things that are missionally important to you, things you stand for, things you value. And I'll give you examples. But as you kind of come down here, about section, right? This gives me no insight into who you are. Sure, experienced, leader, sales, financial service industry, strong financial professional. But like this little section, even though, people say this is maybe a little ticky-tack and where are we focusing on? They're not really looking at this stuff. All these are micro impressions. All of these things matter, and they can be set and forget. They don't have to be updated every 2 days. But tell people who you are and what you're doing. and do it in first person. A lot of people write their own bios in third person. I find that hysterical. Just do it in first person. Cool there?
Yeah.
Down here too. All these areas have text space. And
Okay.
so I'm going to show you because it's easier to like see it in contrast. Because you're like, what are you talking about? So look, notice how you can fill all this stuff out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you come down here, the About section. Hey, thanks for visiting my profile, blah, blah, blah. And I'll tell you, interestingly on this, I say, don't just send me a spammy direct message 5 seconds after we connect. I get spammy direct messages all the time, but people actually reference this line. And I go, okay, at least you read it.
Right.
And
right.
so like people do read this stuff. And then you have featured post area. So we'll talk about that. Over here, there's no featured posts here.
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably a place where I spend the least amount of time, because it's been a barrage of spam messages.
Yeah,
You know, and
yeah.
the-
We'll fix that.
Inbox just goes crazy. So
But this was the area I wanted to show you underneath each of these sections. So if you look here, right, it just kind of, but you can expand it to have videos, have messages, and buff it out. Now, let's talk about LinkedIn in general, and then we'll dive into your content here. So, how do you see using LinkedIn?
recruiting tool.
Absolutely.
I mean that's where I think it's got its best use.
But let's spend 5 minutes and expand that, because who's on LinkedIn?
Other professionals.
Yeah, people that typically have jobs. So, you still personally produce. Obviously, your loan officers produce. Guess where all their clients are? They're all here.
Okay.
So think about this. So we have a misframe opportunity to tackle this differently. If you go, okay, all my past clients are probably on LinkedIn, or a majority of them that have jobs. And inside this, you can actually see, I can see who you're connected to, right?
Yep.
And I can see who at Loan Depot, who in your profession is connected to you. So if you can do that, then your loan officers can go see their past customers, go see who all their coworkers are, go see who their bosses are, go see who their heads of HR are, and all of a sudden now you just realized you have a sniper's view into prospecting.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. I hadn't thought about it that way. So
absolutely great for recruiting, for sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, now you can help weaponize this for your loan officers and say, look, let's expand your connectivity. So going back, the purpose of great branding, great marketing, is to build influence across a bigger and bigger sphere. And so how do we do that? Well, my customer is connected to all their coworkers on LinkedIn. If it's a great company and maybe I want to get in there and do like a loan advantage situation, or I want to expand, I want to do more loans for those customers, they're all connected. And so if I can start finding these connection points and broadening my sphere, now when I make content, I'm reaching more people. So we'll personalize this stuff, we'll clean it up, and then from an activity basis, let's see how active you are in here. 10 months ago.
yeah, like I said, it's definitely not where I spend my time.
So we will play with this, but the foundation's decent, so there's just a couple things to fix up. All right? Let's talk about Facebook. Okay, this is your business profile. Same opportunity, but where I'm going to lean into and challenge is your personal profile, and we'll get there in a sec.
Yeah, I think when I was, in my past life when I was at the bank, we were only allowed to use the business page,
Yep.
right? So I thought that was a rite of passage, had to have it. But I think the minute I got here at Loan Depot, I pretty much I set it up, but I don't spend any time on it.
Yep.
Because that's not where, because you've got to have the friend connection on your personal page before you can even get them to the business page. And I didn't, it seemed like a hurdle. So
So I'm going to spend a minute on this because I think other people listening will take the benefit of this. I think a business page is a should have. It helps SEO. It's a should have, but to focus on it as a tool for growth is very difficult. And the only real reason I would tell anybody to invest into a business page is if they're going to run ads. And there's a strategy for that. I kind of call it like a digital 2.0 strategy. Most people need to get through 1.0. But a mature 2.0 strategy is, imagine a world where all your past clients and realtors are inside of Facebook with you, and you're connected to them. Now you can run ads strategically to them and groups like them, like lookalike audiences, and you can start to create a bigger reach on these platforms for very little money. But that takes like, think of that, you know the guys and gals that used to rent billboards on like bus stops and benches and like, I still Nathan's on shopping carts in Sacramento. It cracks me up. I love it.
I got a billboard story for you.
So, have you done a billboard then?
Yeah.
How'd it go?
It was an expensive waste of money. I mean, I guess there's no way to quantify whether there was any real business coming from it. It was just more of a branding play in our town. But yeah, it was an expensive 12-month deal.
Commitment.
Yep.
So take that vein though and say, well, if we're going to spend money on brand exposure, let's consider doing it on platforms like Meta, where you can geofence the area and you can get actual results. You can get like response rates, click-throughs, and all this stuff in a measurable way. And if you're going to spend money and on the billboard you got eyeballs, now you're going to get eyeballs and potentially leads. So there is a space for a business page, because that's the tool you would use to run those ads. But in my opinion, you got to have the 1.0 down, which is content frequency, posting scheduling,
Right.
actively growing on there. So let's go click over to personal. Family, but I'll give you a thumbs up. Same profile pic. That's good.
That was at
good.
the recommendation of your team.
That's
Keep
good.
it consistent.
Yeah, that way I know who I'm talking to, right?
Yeah.
And by the way,
Although it does create some confusion when I'm logging in. I don't know which page I'm looking
yeah,
at because
I've done that.
the profile pic's the same. But
actually, so you know what I did on mine? Purple is personal, green background is business.
oh,
That
all
way
right,
I could figure
all right.
myself out. I had the same
Might
issue.
have to make that tweak.
All right, so we got family. You have a great win here, which is you linked to your own business page. That's appropriate. I catch people all the time that says I'm a branch leader at Loan Depot, and they're pointing people to Loan Depot's Facebook page. No, you want them to come here. That's great. And then you're active-ish. So you posted this hysterical. I mean, look at this, bro. That's what I'm talking about. So you're active here. You got a lot of comments. Your community's active. You're posting about meetups, more doggos, mortgage content. So honestly, there's not much to critique here, except you might want to look at framing this banner differently, cutting your head off. It's not like when you click here now, I see the whole thing.
All right. Didn't realize that was happening.
Yep, no one does. You think
fix
I
that.
posted a cool picture, which is great, but then you got your head cut off. So a little bit of framing. You can talk more here about what you do. The about section, you can really fill this in a little bit more and make it look like you got a lot, because you got a lot going on in your life. Let's get this kind of built out. But you get passing grades there. Instagram. You're definitely active on Instagram, which is great. And you've got a lot of mortgage content. By the way, I didn't notice any of this mortgage content over on Facebook.
So
Was that intentional?
good question. I just default to posting that on Instagram, and probably should be doing it the other way around. Maybe something you can help me with. I can't figure out when I post something on Facebook, it automatically, if you post a reel there, it will automatically publish on my Instagram. So I get a 2-for-1. It doesn't work the other way around for some reason. It doesn't find my, it says you have to claim your Facebook profile, and then
Yep.
it never links up. So anyways, no, it's probably just an oversight. Maybe I need to do it the other way around and post it on Facebook first so that it flows over to Instagram.
All right. Well, we'll give you some tips and tricks for that. But again, the bio is, okay, but I don't get any heartbeat from this
Okay.
about you. And the only other small criticism now, which is going to be kind of we're going to zoom back up to the 30,000. Oh, do you have a TikTok? Is this you?
I have it, don't use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. There's opportunity there too. If you're going to be making content, if you're going to be making stuff like these videos and others,
Probably need to send it over to TikTok too.
why not?
Yeah, no, I agree.
You already made the piece.
Yeah.
Get more exposure from it. But here's the opportunity on all this stuff. So 2.3 thousand friends is pretty strong. 1,600 followers, following 3,000 is pretty good. Your opportunity here on all these platforms, including LinkedIn, is going to be to expand your community. So let's just talk strategy for a second. Are you doing anything to grow your connections?
Every day. So, I make it a point if I'm pre-approving a client that I will then immediately go seek them out on social and make sure I connect with them.
Perfect.
Listing agents that are on the other end of a pre-approval, I make sure that I connect with them as well. So that's something that and I preach to my team, constantly grow your audience. I have a number of people on the team that have 200, 300, or 400, contacts, and I know they know more people than that.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that, 1,600 is anything to tout, but I am making a daily effort to add to the audience.
Okay. And then after you're making the daily effort, what's your engagement strategy on the platforms?
Well, after they're on there, then I have the idea that they're going to see the content that I put out, but I haven't been making one-on-one connections. I don't follow it up with a direct message. Maybe I should.
Well, no. Let me just give you food for thought. So, social media by design is built to be a two-way street, and I fall into this trap just as much as anybody else. So I'm constantly reminding myself. We tend as humans to make it a one-way street, where we just put out our thoughts and messages. And so you see that from everybody. So it's not a criticism, it's just a human behavior notice, like an awareness. But the opportunity, especially for your loan officers and you, is to use it to engage in other people's stuff.
Sure.
God, in the glory days, man, we had to drive by open houses to meet somebody and shake a hand or cold call them.
Right.
Now they're posting their life for me to watch, and I can give a thoughtful, authentic comment.
Sure.
And make headspace with them and earn brand position or
Yep.
market. And so one of the best practices would be either time blocking or figuring out how to integrate it into your life where it's a priority, but it's not doom scrolling, but it's intention scrolling.
Right.
And it's looking for the agents, it's looking for past customers, and frame it up like even for your team, I'd be like, all right, guys, we're gonna do this. We're gonna make 20 comments today, like during this 20-minute period, because every time you do that, that realtor, that past customer now gets a brand impression of you. They think that they remember you.
Sure.
If you're helping their algorithm by commenting on their stuff, so there's a little bit of appreciation there. And long story short, it just creates more human connection. So think about that as a compliment to you posting. It's how often do I also go tell other people they're cool.
Sure.
All right, let's talk about posting cadence. How and when do you decide what to post?
Completely inconsistent.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. I know that it needs to be, and I'm working on that. I'm a work in progress when it comes to this stuff. And, I don't just post to post. I try and make it, I've kind of got a 70-30 rule. I try and do 70%, personal stuff and 30% business.
I like that.
And I know that the audience, just by the viewer count, I definitely get more interest when it's a non-work related post. So
Yeah.
In my mind, I try and keep it more relatable on the personal side and dribble in the business. So that's been my thought process there. Try and get something out weekly, which I know eventually should be daily.
Well,
but
let's unpack all that. So 70-30 is kind of something that you just commented on. 70% personal, 30% business. Obviously on LinkedIn, it could be almost inverted.
Right. That
platform
is definitely more business related. And, I even went so far, I've got additional Instagram profiles for certain hobbies that I do, like the boating and the off-roading, because I felt like if I brought that onto my personal page that it might turn some people off. And then I had a conversation with a colleague of mine a couple months ago, and he said, that's wrong. You need to, that's all part of you, and you just need to have it all in one place. So I have those other pages, but I've stopped kind of separating the content so much and just brought it all in here.
Good.
And I struggle with, I don't want to come across as a douchebag, and you probably cut that out. I don't want.
Keep it in. This is good though. People have the same thoughts.
I struggle with that. I don't want to come across as, showcasing everything that we do, but at the same time, there are people in my sphere that'll relate to that stuff, and it's a tug of war with myself that I struggle with. What's the right content to put out there on the personal side so that you don't come across, douchey.
So, you made a comment at the very beginning of last session where you said you got to let people know what you do, and friends and family.
Sure.
And you weren't afraid to let them know what you do.
Right.
Why did that? Does this feel different than that somehow?
A little bit, just because you're putting it out there to such a large population, I guess.
Okay.
But I got to get over that. I
Well,
guess.
everyone should land on what their they should make opinions and live by those things, like get congruent. And so, I challenge everyone who's listening to this and to take whatever I'm saying and rub it up against what you think and care about and how you want to be in life. Like, I'm not anyone special. I'm making shit up like everybody else.
Right.
My thoughts, though, are frequency is going to expand your reach. So the more intentional you are in commenting on other people's stuff, and the more intentional you are about increasing posting frequency, is going to drive more opportunity. And it all comes back to, what's your purpose? What's the intent of these platforms?
Well, the intent is to, reinforce your brand,
Absolutely.
right? And, eventually, gain customers.
Yeah,
And-
absolutely. And then there's all this secondary stuff, right? Like staying top of mind and staying
Sure.
present with past customers and prospecting agents, like building relationships. That takes time. It doesn't happen over one interaction. So if they see you over and over again, it starts building that connection. All that stuff happens through frequency. And one of the things that I found in doing this brand new, how many brand news has this been? Is this 9? There's a lot of things that we do in our work life I call it organic. I post when I think about it. I do it when I think about it. And organic is the fastest way to limit your success, because everybody that I know that achieves high levels of success in anything is strategic and intentional. There's not just when I feel like it. It's not going to the gym when I feel like it. It's like, this is now my life. And so with social, it's the same opportunity to view it the same way and say, okay, if I really want this to be a tool to maximize my success, I've got to use it as a tool, and I got to get strategic around it and not organic. And so we're gonna carve this up later today, but one of the biggest opportunities you have is say, okay, I'm going to start taking these platforms seriously. Mm-hmm. I'm going to start building strategies around it. It doesn't mean I magically can post every day now, but it means I'm going to start putting things in place to help me get further and further towards my goal. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, I can instantly see where I'm missing the boat here on, not cross-posting throughout the
Easy
other
pickup,
right?
Easy
Right?
pickup.
I can instantly fix that.
Yep. Yeah, so the last thing I'll just encourage you on this as we go through this, and the marketing team will come in and do some magic on this stuff is, and we're going to build this later today, but just start thinking about how you can not just do it for yourself, but how you can help your team step into this as well. And you'll help your referral partner step into this as well. This is one of those things that crosses industries, and the more you lean into it, the more you can lift everybody else up with it.
Sure.
Sound good?
Absolutely.
All right, well, you have a fantastic baseline. I mean, honestly, I've had some social media accounts that are fully blank, and that's always a different thing. So we got good bones to work with, and we'll take it to the next step.
Right
All
on.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Bam! Back again.
Back at it.
I hope the photo shoot was okay. The pointing.
Yeah, we're
You handled it all. Perfect.
we got it.
All the thumbnails. All right, before we get into content, we're going to spend a session really going over a marketing plan holistically. And so one of the things that I think that this will be fun for us to go back and forth on is, understanding what you're currently doing, understanding where there's opportunities, understanding what your team's doing and where there's opportunities, and weaving that into an overarching strategy to make sure that you're just driving forward every step of the way.
Pause for 2 seconds. Anything up there that
No.
needs to be erased?
No.
Okay.
So another way to look at this, Brian, is we're going to start talking about, we're gonna before we even film, hold on, let me say that again. One way to look at this, Brian, is before we get into filming, we actually have to have a strategy. Like, why are we doing this in general? So I like to break this down into a few different areas: local, digital, and then I like to break it down into different audiences. So your team, referral partners, customers, recruits. So let's start with just originating loans. Okay, we'll kind of put that down as the objective, is getting loans versus getting recruits, and we'll break it up from there. From a getting loans perspective, what do you do today to drive business for yourself?
So my primary focus is on my team's production.
Yep.
So I have to take a step back and realize that I'm not originating for myself at 100%
Perfect.
capacity, right? So what I do for myself to get loans is, ratcheted back from what we would expect of anyone else. So I get a lot of, past clients, repeat referral business. I have a couple trusted referral partners, big entertainment company that manages clients that I've worked with for a very, very long time,
Yep.
and a couple key real estate professionals that we network together with.
So your business right now, I don't want to say it's on autopilot, but does it kind of feel that way a little bit?
It's more of a reactive
Yeah.
than proactive, go out and hustle type. So that's an accurate statement. I do, I have a database of, thousands of contacts that I regularly market to through our CRM platform,
Yeah.
just to stay relevant with them.
Well,
And
So let me see if I can draw something out here. With the referral partners and the people you're doing business with, are you doing enough business with them where you don't have to be systematic in contact strategy because you're talking to them like
yeah,
weekly?
it's just kind of more of a natural cadence. It's not
Yeah.
something that I'm having to structure or plan
Yeah.
to market to them.
So then most of your then offensive activity is going to be around recruiting and helping your loan officers
Correct.
grow, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so let's go down the path of the LOs. What is your strategic plan today, or what are you executing against to get your LOs to be as effective as possible?
We have daily call strategies set up where the team can dial into a Teams meeting so
Okay.
that they're not
That's every day?
every day it's on the calendar. There's the reality of it,
Yeah.
which is nobody's showing up, and we just hope that the calendar reminder is enough that they need to be blocking out some time to prospect.
What time is the daily call at?
9:00.
9 a.m.?
It's a standing 9 a.m. It's a Monday calls, Tuesday calls, Wednesday calls, Thursday calls. The idea behind, on one particular day, you're going to be reaching out to your past customers.
These are theme days.
So,
Oh.
certain call days are past customers, your referral partners, your loan updates for, pre-approvals or loans that you have in the pipeline. And then as you work towards the weekend, it's going to be preparing for what your referral partners might need for the weekend coming into the open houses, or what your pre-approved buyers might need as far as updated approvals for their, shopping over the weekend.
And on these calls, is the desire that the loan officers, they're not calling in, they're supposed to go do these things.
They're supposed to do these things. The original intent was to not feel like they're doing it alone.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
open up, just basically have like an office hour session on Teams that's open, not for them to, necessarily interact with me on. I mean, I'm there if they have, questions. But the interesting part is I implemented this a long time ago. And in the beginning, I had LOs calling in, and, they would maybe on the chat, they would share their wins, or, and then it's dwindled into where I was the only one coming onto the call. And so the hope now is that everybody has a standing calendar entry
Yep.
every morning, so they're at least, it's top of mind that they should be doing these calling activities.
Yeah, I like it. What else do you have then on top of that?
So going back to the question, so these were
Things you're doing to drive your LO's business.
So I also participate heavily in anything, any community-based event, networking opportunities. These are the things like the local golf events or the chili cook-offs or.
How many of those do you do a quarter, approximately?
I would say that we're probably involved in 2 per quarter in the local markets. And then we have.
And you pull all the LOs with you? Like we're all going to this type of thing?
They're branch invites, right? Who's able to participate. My goal is to get, a number of them to attend.
Yeah, of course.
So it's not me there by myself.
Yeah.
And then we have some marketing agreements with real estate teams and branch
many
broker
of that do you have?
offices. I think we have.
Flexes.
Yeah, we have like 3 active ones right now. So participating in their events as well and trying to get.
Any LOs on site in those places?
Yeah, we have LOs that sit in the office with the real estate brokerage.
And they're there full time?
A couple times a week.
A couple times a week.
Yeah, and we try and share the coverage so that the team can.
That's good.
Mix and match with their schedules.
Okay. Good. What else?
We've got a builder account where a couple LOs are handling, that that assignment as well. Trying to think what else we have going on.
How often do you have sales meetings?
Once a month.
Okay.
And I've gone back and forth between the, in person and video, and it's interesting because trying to get everybody there in person results in the morning of the LOs call and they have excuses as to why they can't be there.
Of course.
Even though it's been on the calendar for
All month.
For a month. And so rather than have partial attendance in person, I've gone to the last couple we did were over Teams to try and get 100% participation, and then
Interesting. I can I ask you a question on that?
yeah,
So obviously, having led this team for a long time and been in the same market, having teammates for a long time,
right.
You managed through COVID, which of course was a difficult time in general. But it's funny to me that there's participation, or you're like trying to find out how to get this organized, because of you're such a standardized person. You have large standards of what you expect, and so I'm curious how you balance that with something like this. And here's my bias. So before you answer, I want to tell you why I'm triggered on this, and I'm putting my bias on this. My branch meeting, like if you didn't come to my branch meeting, I was personally disrespected. I was offended. And if I'm not producing quality and you don't think there's a reason to go there, I want that feedback. Like, tell me why you didn't come. But I'm curious how you handle all this today in real time. Like, what's going on in your head around this?
Well, in my head, I'm feeling the same way that you do.
Yeah.
Is it not important enough, to, if you have something on your calendar that you've committed to show up? Like, I can't, putting myself in their shoes, if my regional has a meeting, I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
If it's on my calendar, and that was the first thing I hit the calendar, if I don't have a conflict, a month in advance, I'm going to show up. I'm not going to ever flake on somebody the day of or the morning.
Yeah.
So I find that behavior puzzling to me, and it really, it separates those that are committed to win and those that are, maybe that's not the primary focus.
Yep.
And so aside from poking fun at somebody, I move on.
All right. We'll come back to this. This is good. It's interesting. Anything else? Daily calls. You have the events two to two times a quarter. You have the MSAs. You got the builder account. You have your sales meeting. Any other big pillars of kind of process?
No, I think we hit on. I mean, something will come to me later because I wasn't prepared to.
Yeah, that's fine.
That, but those are the basics.
Okay. And do you have any non-negotiables with the LOs that work for you in terms of things they're going to do to drive their business that if they don't do, they don't work for you?
You know, it's more of a activity-based barometer.
Yeah.
Like if they're not doing the activities, we're going to have a problem, right? It means they're not putting in the effort at all, right? We can't always. I know we want to manage to the results and the fundings. You know, those are great, but if there's no front end effort, you know,
Could not agree with you more.
We have to have a conversation.
So how do you walk me through that process? How do you hold people accountable to that? How do you know what people are doing? Do you have a series of one-on-ones? Like how do you manage it?
So typically, if somebody is not putting in the effort, then we will go to a weekly, a weekly call session where we're going to identify what's eating up their time.
Yeah.
Right? Where are these 40 hours a week? I mean, if we had a 40-hour-a-week job, which we don't, right? Because I feel like we're at the beck and call 24/7.
That's right.
But if you're not even putting forth 40 hours or you have 40 hours to give, where are you spending that time? And we need to start tracking it, you know.
Yep.
And it's an eye-opener sometimes with some people where we start putting it down on paper. You know, how many people did you talk to today? How many appointments did you set? How many pre-approvals did you do? How many database, CRM marketing
Yep.
pieces did you send out? What did you do on social? And there's all these categories on a tracking sheet that we go through, right? And sometimes I'll be shocked. I get them back, and it's like, okay, I talked to 3 people today.
Is that like the greatness tracker type of
Yeah,
document?
very similar.
Yeah.
You know, there's all different versions of it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
at the end
Been
of the
around
day, it's where are you spending your time?
Yep.
And I know that you can get through a lot more activities than what you've just put on the sheet. Then we need to start. That's when the idea of micromanaging, which I hate to do, now
You're doing it.
Now we got to do it, right? And at some point, maybe it's not the right fit for them,
Right.
you know, and you'll get to that point.
Okay, so do you? I mentioned one-on-ones out of a fly. Do you have one-on-ones that are routine?
Not on a regular basis.
Okay.
Again, and that could be a flaw of mine. But I mean, one of the things I pride myself on is that I want to trust that the people that are on the team are capable of running their own business.
Yeah.
I always say that this is, yes, you're an employee of Loan Depot, but this is, for all intents and purposes, you're running your own show.
Agreed.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you like that, great, and I'll help you, build and develop. But I don't want to sit there and every week force you to have a meeting with me if you don't feel that the need's there.
Last question on this is, if a loan officer was coming to you and they're like, Brian, like, tell me my plan. Build me my marketing and prospecting plan. What does that look like? What would you give them?
Well, I would give them the steps that I would take.
Yeah.
Right. So the first thing, and we talked about this earlier, is your audience. Right.
Yep.
Have you cultivated, to the extent of your ability, your audience?
Yep.
Is your database up to date? Do you have everybody that's in your phone? I find this is pretty interesting.
Huh.
Everybody that you have in your phone contact record, are you connected with them on the social platforms, and is every name in your CRM?
Yep.
And
Beautiful.
I can tell you that 100% of the time, that's not the case.
Yep.
Right? You have records in your phone that far exceed what's probably in your marketing. Right? So start there.
Seriously.
At least build an audience so
Yep.
that when you do start marketing, you're marketing to more than 5 people.
Yep.
Right. And then you've got to do, in my opinion, you've got to do a mix of it all. You've got to show up locally at the, we have, this is another thing I forgot to mention earlier, every other week we've got network meetings at the real estate board on Friday mornings.
Yep.
Right.
Friday caravan meeting, right?
Yep. We have networking events with, smaller networking groups with real estate agents, like on Wednesdays, for example, I go to that. So you need to show up locally to those things as well and become as one of my peers always said, you have to see and be seen, right?
Yep.
You got to be there. Can't just hide out at home or behind your computer all the time. And never underestimate the power of having a one-on-one interaction with a referral partner, whether it's a real estate agent, a financial planner, a CPA, insurance agent, title, you name it.
Yep.
Like, you should be having those every week.
Yep.
Right? And I think a lot of people rely solely on, text and phone, and they forget, the importance of getting out in front of somebody.
Face to face.
Every time I've gotten in front of somebody face to face, there's business that follows.
That's exactly right, dude.
So you have to do that. And then I think, face to face, the networking opportunities, managing your database. I think you have to spend some time on social, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're putting out content or you're engaging with others, you have to build your audience there.
Yep.
And then do the traditional, database marketing too.
Yep.
Whether that's an announcement of a new program or whatnot, rate movement in the market, what have you.
Yep.
I think that's a necessary evil as well.
Okay.
So that would be my plan, right? You
I got it.
touch on all those things and rinse and repeat.
Let's talk recruits. What's your strategy?
So we have 2 standing recruiting calls every single week, where
Every week.
with the region, to try and stay focused on the task at hand, which is we want to, as a company, continue to grow and thrive. So
Yep.
so we're identifying candidates that do a decent amount of business that we would want to have conversations with, and we're making calls and we're texting and we're emailing, we're doing videos and voice recordings to try and get in front of more people in the markets that we want to grow in.
Do you have a quote list of candidates floating around somewhere?
Yeah, so we have our tool with Mello 360 that we can leverage in any market that we want to look for, producers. We use that and pretty much extract data from there, that or Market Track, to identify candidates in certain geographic areas.
So when you have this target list, so to speak, what's your process to get connected to those people?
So I know that I'm on the receiving end of a ton of recruiting calls every day.
So you have a way.
So I know what I
don't like.
Yeah, right. I don't like it when I get the typical call from the recruiter that says, "I'm calling on behalf of so and so, and it's really important for this person to talk to you." And the first thing that comes to my mind is, well, if it was really important for him to talk to me, why isn't he calling me himself?
Yep.
So I make it a point that when I'm doing my outreach, I am the local manager in your market,
Yeah.
and we haven't connected. I'd like to, at very least, get to know you a little bit. I usually start it off with either a text or a connection on social to try and get a response to either have a conversation or set up a meeting.
Do you have a set number of calls you're making or outreaches you're making a week or a day, or is it more like?
It's more of a time block, and this is an area that I definitely need improvement in. But in an hour's time, call, make the outreach for an hour.
Is it time blocked on your calendar?
Uh-huh.
Is it hard to stay consistent with that?
Always.
Yeah.
It's
it works for me.
because having the producing team, and that's really my primary focus, day in and day out.
Yeah.
It's like if something comes up with the team, maybe
Pulls
there's
you
a
off.
problem on a file,
Yep.
or they need help, structuring a deal.
Yep.
Like my mind goes to that.
Yep.
Over the recruit, so the recruiting might take a
Backseat.
for a minute, but it's consistently there on the on the calendar, and I know it's something that I need to do more of and be more consistent at.
Yeah, I mean, is there an objective with it? Like, what's like a size of your branch you want to get to, or is there a number tied to this somehow?
So we're already one of the largest branches
By far.
in the company, and I would like nothing more than to not have a higher headcount and just have greater productivity with the people that we have. But I know that that doesn't solve for some market areas that we do need to expand in.
Yeah.
Right? So I've got a couple different cities that that are light that we want to recruit to.
Yeah.
And so I do need to continue with those efforts.
What does that look like over the next couple years in your head? Where do you want to land?
Well, I think a thriving branch is probably 10 people at on average that are doing 1.5 to 2 million a piece would be great.
Yeah.
Right. So we have some markets where we don't have enough people there, and
Yeah.
and we're not we're not providing adequate coverage to the consumers in those markets from the Loan Depot perspective. So
Yep.
we got to grow those areas, and so my recruiting efforts are targeted to certain cities.
Yeah.
Right now.
Okay. All right. So super helpful. Here, let's kind of dive into some thoughts and brainstorming a little bit. You're very self-aware, because you've said it throughout this, of areas that you're like, I got to clean that up, or I really want to do better there. If you had to call some of those out, what are the top 3 areas you're like, I need to button this up?
Well, I think the biggest deficit right now, just because it's top of mind for the company, is growth and staying consistent with the recruiting efforts.
Yep.
So I know that's one of my weaknesses.
Okay.
Right.
What else? Are there other ones? Are there areas you want to tighten up?
Along what topic?
LO productivity, like the.
Well, yeah. I mean, productivity. I would love. Right now we're below 2. I think we're below 2 apps per head, per head per day, or whatever the metric is, and it'd be nice to get that productivity level up. We have about 25 originators that I work with,
Yeah.
and you've got a percentage that are firing on all cylinders, and then you've got some in the middle, and then you've got some that aren't, right? So
Very normal.
I would love to see everyone succeed.
Yep.
That would be my wish.
Okay. So let me give you some thoughts on things to integrate or to consider as you look at this whole world and, try to continue to push your team forward, like I know you're very passionate about. One thing that I found to be super, super helpful for especially people like you who are tenured in this business, achieved tons of success personally, tons of success as a team. You've accumulated so much knowledge over your career that you've forgotten everything that you've learned. And in addition to that, a lot of your teammates, even new ones you might be hiring, have never learned the right way. So for example, when I saw you being like, well, I would just tell them to do what I would do, right? That to me is a business plan in a box. And you have so much knowledge in your head, you should be able to produce that to somebody on like a single sheet of paper almost, where it's just like, here, this is what you would do. This is it. Because they might take, not everyone can be you, right? Like there's different levels of capacity. People have different levels of capacity. Some it's by choice, some it's by skill set. Your ability to say, here's the 17 things I would do right now, and here's how to do them, and here's how to execute them, and here's how to be accountable to these things, and here's how I can help you, could be a really fun tool to have in your toolkit, where it's not just Brian's wisdom, it's now in a book. It's now in a roadmap, where it's like, I can tell you exactly what to do in this market because I've done it, and I'll show you how to do it. So that's one thought I've had for you to play with. The second would be, and maybe you can unpack this for me a little bit, is how important is accountability in your culture with your team?
It's extremely important. However, you find, and I'll use an example that happened just last week. We had a number of leads that were distributed that before the leads were sent out to the LOs, I asked everybody on the team, we have some leads that the company acquired, based on refinance parameters. Who wants to, everybody's going to get 30 of them or so.
Yeah.
Who wants to participate in this?
I love it.
You're going to be required to reach out to them minimum of 8 times.
Yep.
This is not going to be something that, you can just take the list and let it fall on the floor because the company, paid money for these. Who wants in, right? These are the expectations first before you say yes, right? Who wants in? And I had, 10 people
Takers, yeah.
opt in, right?
Yeah.
Well, they get the list.
Rubber hits the road.
A couple weeks, and I'm like, okay, it's time for a checkup.
Yep.
Right? Let's find out of the expectations that were set in the beginning, who's doing what. So set up a call for everybody that was part of this pilot to get on. Half of the people join, right?
Solid.
And then you find out on this call that some people have not made any attempts to reach out to these leads. And so you talk about accountability, right? Like, so I've had my check-in now. I find out that they're not doing what they signed up for.
Yep.
And you just, I can't help but wonder, like, was it me that was unclear in the beginning that this is what you were raising your hand for?
Yeah.
Or what, and I'm left kind of confused at this point, and where to go with that. But, accountability is huge, but, do I beat it? Do I beat it into the ground, or do I realize that, okay, half of those people are just not going to do it and move on?
Yeah, it's hard. And it all comes down to the culture that you allow as the leader. And I'll be the first person to say, like, there should be grace in every culture, like 100%. There should be the ability to work with somebody where they're at and not necessarily like who you want them to be today. Because not everyone is at their highest level yet, and not everyone can do everything that you could do today. So there's that balance of how do you meet someone where they're at, and a balance of hold them accountable to where they should be. And that takes really gutsy leadership, and it takes a lot of human connection and empathy to be able to do that well. Because you could sit down and say, okay, you didn't make your calls, and it's like, well, I'm not capable of making these calls. I'm too afraid. I'm not equipped with what to say to these people. I need to role play, like, or whatever their stuff is, right? And then it's like, well, okay, well, my leadership maybe was a little like I failed. I should have equipped them on what to say and how to say it. So I think that's the game. It's not just accountability as the word. It's accountability and understanding of where people are at. So I think that, for as driven and as successful as a leader you are, what an opportunity to figure out that balance with your team. And one of the things that I'll throw in as a suggestion for you to consider is I've always found that visibility to activities, like you mentioned earlier, is what sets everything up for success. If people are able to be visible with what they're doing every day, and everyone can see everybody's activity, all of a sudden you start finding out where the biggest flat spots are and the problems are with everybody.
Oh, absolutely. I
And
mean,
so-
sharing, the reports with the whole group, multiple times throughout the month, so you can see what your peers are doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's really helpful, right? It shows what if you're putting in the work, this is what's possible, and it identifies those that are not working.
Yeah, and I think that there's so some other thoughts for you too. Variation is your friend. So when did you put those calls on the board the first time? The daily calls? Do you remember when you put those on?
Oh, I'd have to go back. I mean, it's been at least I don't know, probably 8 months.
Okay, and so when did you notice momentum start to drop off of it?
90 days.
Dude, I think that there's this 90-day. I think there's something about 90 days and a quarter where it's like human capacity needs to get like reinvigorated. I was always a fan of mini competitions or campaigns throughout the year.
Right.
And maybe you don't run them every 90 days and it's a little bit repetitive, but like, for example, we're gonna go do some content strategy after this, right? We're gonna start filming some content. While you're doing it and you're integrating this into your business, absolutely consider running campaigns and competitions with your entire branch to be inside it as well. Because now it's like, no guys, my goal is I'm gonna make some stuff up. My goal is to do 30 videos this month. And so here's how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna film these days, just like you have call days.
Right.
And I'm gonna have the scripts, and I want you guys to consider doing it with me. We're going to do like a little sprint together.
Right.
And then, yeah, people will drop off. But those little momentum pickups here and there are like, it's probably time to figure out how to redo this call sequence thing.
Yeah, no, you're
And
absolutely
suck
right.
people back in.
Yep.
It's almost like we can't be focused that long, humans. It's like too long to stay consistent. I can do a diet for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I can't do a diet for...
I mean, it could be this industry too, and the people
Totally.
that it attracts, right? We all suffer from ADHD, I guess.
Okay, so here's another area where you have opportunity. I think that identifying, you're a guy who accomplishes things. Is that a fair statement?
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, I mean, if you set out to go do something, chances are you do it.
Right.
I mean, that's just, I've watched it. There's your personality, what we talked about this morning. Like, here, A, I need to get to B, I get to B. I think that setting up those standards for your growth objectives and your growth goal, which doesn't have to be this specific, but I'm going to have a branch with 10 people in this market in a year or in 6 months.
Right.
And then back it up and go, okay, well, by 6 months, then I need to have the leader, and then, and then I need to have a couple of hires here and then here. Setting those big objectives up for you is going to drive you nuts, and you'll accomplish it, especially if you make it public and you put it on the whiteboard in the office. You're like, hey guys, I want you to know my goals. And now everyone that follows you is looking at you, seeing how you accomplish this or not.
Right.
Because you're the one that holds them accountable for their stuff. So it's food for thought. Back to like my biggest encouragement in all this stuff is, how can you continue to open up visibility to the things you're doing and that you're trying to accomplish, and the things that and get your team to be as visible as possible with you too. It's very vulnerable to be visible. Like when you mentioned, when you sit down with somebody who's lower producing and you're like, let's go through your greatness tracker.
Right.
And they did nothing.
Right.
It's really it's difficult. But the more that you have a culture of visibility, where it's just like, no, we all share this all the time. Like, it'll pull everybody together and up to new levels. And it might expose people who are having the issues that you need to really get involved with. Because I found when somebody's not performing at the highest levels of activity, it's not because they don't want it. It's because they have a limiting belief or problem that's holding them back from it. And that's what people like you need to work on. It's not the activity, it's that they don't know what to say. Or, so you're going to see this in real time when we go do videos. And you've done plenty of videos now, so you're more secure. But in some of these brand new episodes, when people tell me they don't know what to say, they haven't gone through the exercise of figuring out what to say. And once we do that, then that excuse is now gone. But until then, they're not doing social media. So it's one of these things where you just have to kind of find out what the real problem is, what's really holding someone back, and attack that as a leader. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
All right. And then, yeah, I mean, that accountability thing, figuring out the right dance for your culture is just going to continue to drive more success for you. Because I agree with you. I don't want to be a micromanager. But if somebody's stuck and you care about them and you're trying to unstick them, you have to figure out how to continue to lean into accountability and focus on the issues they need to build on, or else the culture, people don't show up anymore.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, no, I'm not going to tolerate that anymore.
Right.
And just figure out how to balance that. So that's interesting. Anything else that you lean into from a marketing perspective?
I think we've touched on more than what I would have come up with, so
Okay.
I'm happy to follow your lead on this.
Well, look, you have a huge base. You're obviously winning. At this stage in your career, it's just about defining the next step, the goal for the next step and what that is, and being really clear on it with everybody in your branch and pulling the standards up a little by little.
Right.
Because I saw in your eyes when you're like, it'd be better to have a more production with not less people, but like more productive people.
Right. Right.
I get that.
Yeah. I don't necessarily need more people now. It's about refining everybody's, skills and productivity.
And that's where you just keep upping the standards.
Right.
And that forces people to rise up and face their own ceilings. And at the same time, it's going to force everyone to get better, or they're going to decide that they're not better. And then you have to decide what level of culture are you really building.
Right.
What's acceptable. Obviously, we've all managed the asshole and the high producing asshole, and they don't last very long. It's great to have them. It's great to have their numbers, but at some point, it's just the burnout's real, and you got to let them go. So keep raising the standards. That's my biggest takeaway. All right, you ready to make some content?
Let's do it.
All right, buddy. Bam.
I got a dry erase marker in my hand.
Yep.
I'm a little scared because my handwriting is not that great.
Oh, the whole world's going to see your handwriting now, so it's perfect. This is content creation 101. So I got to be on a whiteboard. And literally in the next 10 to 15 minutes, you're never going to have the excuse, I don't know what to say again. And you can teach all your loan officers, all your realtors. This is a repeatable process that is just timeless. And it just takes that excuse away of I don't know what to say. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why we
here
have
it is.
ChatGPT, though, right?
Yeah, yes. So let's start with an easy one, and then we'll get more complex. Okay? The first thing you do is you start with an audience. So I'm going to start with first-time home buyers. Okay? Easy audience, right? Great pen. Amazing. What is a topic that they have no idea about, they have to get educated on in order to go buy their first home?
Down payment.
Yeah, down payment, right? Easy one. Down payment. What's another one?
Credit.
Yep. What's up? Keep going.
Income.
Yep. What else?
Appraisals.
Yep. Keep going.
Inspections.
Yep.
Insurance.
Insurance, absolutely. Keep going.
Loan programs.
Yep. Programs. Yep. Anything else?
I mean, we could go on and on, but I'm having a...
Yeah, it's fine. You did that in a few
Senior
seconds.
moment.
I guarantee that, interest rates, how to pick
Sure,
the right realtor,
rates,
how to pick
yeah.
the right realtor, fees, like it goes on, right?
Of course.
And so we just spent less than 30 seconds, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things off the top of your head, and I came up with a few more. And I guarantee you by the end of a couple minutes, we could get all the way down the list.
Of course.
So these are all topics that this person needs to learn about, right? So let's pick another audience. What's another subgroup or cohort that we can talk to?
Repeat buyers.
Yeah, so like buying like a second home, or buying a move
Investment.
up, right? Investment. Keep going. Anything else? Veterans. Reno. Reverse. How about audience of realtors, right? How about an audience of recruits? And that was the worst writing I've ever done in my life. No one can read that. So, and there's more. There's more audiences here that we could pick out and mess around with. But if you get the game, right, we just take these and map it over every group.
Sure.
Because someone buying an investment home or second home, they need to understand what down payment is. Is the credit different than the same? If someone's moving up to a new house, they might, do I have to, what is insurance different? What programs are different? All of these things start mapping over to these different audiences. And effectively after, if you sat down at your next branch meeting and said, okay, give me topics, just like we did. And Elo's just threw topics up. In 5 minutes, 15 minutes, you're gonna have 50 topics.
Sure.
And so now all of a sudden, we know what to say. We don't know how to say it yet, but we know that everyone needs to know about down payment. We know that everyone needs to know about credit, but we just don't know how to say it yet. Does it make sense? You with me?
Absolutely.
Okay, so do this at your next sales meeting. I guarantee you come up with a million different things. But now we need to spend the meat of our topic. Oh, and let's do one for recruits, because that's something that you're actively doing.
Sure.
You get to right now. What are some topics that recruits need to know about?
So we got, comp is
Comp.
a big topic. Company company strength.
Yeah. So as you keep going here, like what are the things that if someone's going to make a move, right? Someone's going to make a move.
Right.
What are the key things that you feel like they really need to understand before they decide to make a move? Company strength's great.
Yeah.
Comp's great.
What does our technology look like?
Tech, yeah,
Tech
tech.
is huge. What programs do we have?
Yep. Products and programs.
Maybe benefits.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's not. Look, I know we always we don't talk about benefits enough until they really freaking matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's a foregone conclusion that it's going to exist
Yeah.
at the company, right?
Yeah, then you find out it's crappy.
They could be crap.
Okay. What else?
I would say the team, the executive team.
Okay.
Who
Yeah.
they're going to be working with.
Underwriting.
Yeah, so we'll say ops, right? Because that's underwriting and processing. Maybe the geography.
Sure.
I think that, working for a company that's based in California, if you're
Yeah.
in the California market, is important.
How about marketing?
What's that? Marketing. Coolest.
Cool.
CMO, right? I mean, that's just right there.
Yeah, I mean, you're done.
That's enough.
What else?
I'm sure I'm forgetting one that's on your mind.
Culture. You.
Yeah.
Right now, you.
Right? Okay, so
Yeah. I mean, you put executive team. That's great.
Yeah.
But like
Me.
you, team, your local team. Yeah.
local team.
Peanut gallery throwing in some stuff. I like
Yeah.
that. And then I'll tell you too. Inside of these things are micro topics. Okay. So you've got POS, right? You've got CRM. You've got micro topics inside here that are also like you can extrapolate out.
Sure.
And ops has micro topics because it's got processing, underwriting, appraisals, condos, scenario desks. Like what are all these things inside there? Marketing could be multiple topics, multiple tools that you could talk about that could affect somebody's ability to make a decision, right? Comp, you've got comp plus SEC, right? You got other little pieces to comp that are just like programs. You've also got things like Loan Advantage and Lender Express, right? Like you got MSAs. Again, micro topics inside this whole thing, not just about overlays and products.
Sure.
So again, same type of principle here is there's so much to talk about, and there's so many things that are maybe differently important to different people. And kind of what in my history recruiting, it's usually common for someone to have like certain things they really care about and the rest they don't really care about. It's like, can I call my underwriter? Like if I can't call them, I hate this place, but they don't care about tech as much.
We forgot about one of the big elephants in the room. Pricing.
Yeah, in fact, you know what else I was going to put up here for comp is EPO policy.
Yeah.
Speaking of like current market issue, right?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I forgot a topic. Current market issues, current events. Because there's stuff happening all the time around us, right? Rates dropping up and down. Like, what are we talking about? So, I would have this as like a living Google Drive document with you and your team, where you have all these topics listed all the time, so that when anyone gives you the excuse of I'm not sure what to say, you can be like, okay, let's look this up. Like, what are you passionate about? What do you got going on?
Yeah.
In some markets, I was just talking to David from New York. It's condos, condos. Very catchy.
There's a big
Condo,
problem in our
condos.
market as well.
So they just care about condos and litigation, approved condos. It's a massive topic for their world.
Yeah, and
So-
we did a lot of this too with I think you had a list of 400 topics on a Google Drive.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have.
So once we kind of have this organized, we now have to figure out how to say stuff, because there are right and wrong ways to do this. So we're going to walk you through that, and here's the structure. It starts with an intro or a hook. It goes into a story or an explanation, and it ends with a call to action or a close. Have you seen this framework before?
Yes.
Good. Pick one of these and write me a video script. We'll do it live. I'll help you. Which one?
Let's see. From the recruiting specifically?
Well, no. Pick anyone you want. Pick one that you care, something that you care about, something that you think not enough people know about, something that drives you nuts.
Okay. Well, it's something I was going to do anyways. So, product. So I was going to talk about, one of the videos I was going to make was jumbo programs. People think it's only for large loans. So I was going to educate people that you can use a jumbo loan down into a lower loan amount.
Okay.
And to...
So let's start with this. Who's your audience?
So audience is going to be referral partners and consumers.
Okay, a dual one. I like that. Realtor
Go to either way.
and consumer. Okay, so now we know who you're talking to. Great. What's a good intro or hook? What's the aha moment here?
Did you know that a jumbo loan is not necessarily a large loan amount?
Okay, I like where you're starting there. So
Let's refine that.
did you know? Now, this did you know is so when you're looking at video context, scripts, all this stuff, the same way you can compare it to the same way of like having a business meeting with a realtor. There is a good and optimal way to have a business meeting with a realtor, and then there's like suboptimal, kind of forgettable meetings that are boring and don't do much, and then there's like terrible meetings where the realtor cusses you out and kicks you out at the end, right? So there's a spectrum. There's a spectrum in video content of like optimal, suboptimal, okay, and terrible. An example of terrible is the forgettable non-engagement, misunderstanding the platforms, and they start like this. Hey everybody, my name's Alec Hanson. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Loan Depot, and I've been doing loans for 25 years. They're gone. Like they don't care about anything I just said. And it's a terrible way to do that. Now, if I got on stage to speak, I might validate myself to them. I might share my career, accomplishments so that they know who I am and build some credibility. But in video content for social, you're dead. You're dead the second you try to start talking about that stuff, and that's down here as crappy. Did you know is right in the suboptimal. It's an easy one to go to, but you're not getting me to stick in a way that's like, why do I even care about this? So you really want to look for that nice balance, and this is the science and art creative part. It's hard, but you really want to fight for that balance between clickbait, which you know what I'm talking about when I say that?
Yeah.
It's like if you don't watch this video, your house is going to burn down.
Right.
And you're like, oh my God, I got to watch it. Like you want to balance between that and extreme language with something that's really helpful and useful. So in this situation with this jumbo product, did you save a deal? Like what happened? Why does this matter?
I guess in certain circumstances, it's going to be twofold. So a condo project that might not be Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac eligible could fit into a jumbo non-conforming loan.
Product. Yep.
It could be a pricing benefit. Could get better interest rates on second homes or investment.
Okay, so it could save a deal if it's a condo, and you might have a pricing advantage. Anything else? These are good like fact points.
Yeah.
What else that comes to mind? Anything else? Just those two? Two are good. One's good, but any other reasons it's used? Can you do like bank statement product?
So bank statement, higher debt ratios. So you can go to 55% on jumbo.
So higher DTI plus bank statements.
Yeah, so those are some good ideas. Or asset depletion.
Whatever. So, perfect. What is another thought you have on intro or hook?
Well, considering that was subpar, so
what does your audience care about?
Well, they care about getting that. Maybe they care about getting that vacation home. So somewhere along the lines of this program, learn about how this program could get you into a vacation home of your.
So,
maybe that's
no. I'm letting you work
on the
through
right
it.
track or the wrong track
Yes.
here.
So, here's why audience segmentation matters. They have different things they care about. Okay? A realtor cares about closing a deal for a customer. Mm-hmm. I want to say they care about getting paid. We all want to get paid, but they want to get paid the right way. They want to get paid by doing a good job for somebody and that they're proud of, right? Like, so you don't want to. I always this is going to save your deal. It's like okay, but they want to close a transaction and for their livelihood, right? Consumer is picturing themselves on the lake,
Sure.
with their house and their second house on the beach or wherever they wanted to go. That they're focused on like this, like the experience of life. This is, I want to do a good job with my career. So both of these actually have, they want the same thing. They want a house to close, but they have different reasons why.
Right.
And in an intro or hook, you really want to tag into emotion. You want to tag into the why. You want to be able to tell them what's going on. And so, for example, on the consumer side, you might change your intro hook and say something like along the lines of, you know, your vacation home is closer than you think.
Okay.
And then, so they're like, oh, it is? Like, because that's what they're thinking about. For a realtor, you might say something like,
Learn how to help more clients in this situation.
sure.
Perhaps.
So now they're, okay, he's going to teach me how to get more clients, but how could you make that more extreme? Or more tied to, like, this is a cool solution. It's a niche, smart solution for a complicated problem that people aren't going to see. It's like seeing around corners. So how does this help a realtor? Well, you have how it helps them. So maybe something more extreme would be a jumbo loan is going to save your next conforming deal, or a jumbo loan is going to save your next deal. Let me explain. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So what else would you, let's pick one that you like. Let's write the script because we're going to film this actual video coming up later today. So where do you want to go with? Which audience first?
Pick one, consumer or realtor.
Yep.
I mean, we'll go with the real estate agent. So learn how to save your next deal. Learn how to save your next conforming deal. We got to get rid of "did you know" though, right?
Yeah, we're not going to use it. So, just an example. You can't read it because it's unbelievably terrible. What it says is, here are 4 ways a jumbo loan is going to save your next deal. And so and you can even start out with realtors, like call the audience. Here, I have 4 ways a jumbo loan is going to save your next deal, or 3 ways, right? And you could say, and then you can go into this part. Does that make sense? So somebody who watches this is immediately going to go, I know what he's saying. He's educated. I know who he's talking to because you yelled out realtors.
Right.
I know that he's going to explain to me that he's going to save my next deal with a jumbo loan and how does that possible? I hate jumbo loans, or jumbo loans I heard they were harder, or whatever their preconceived notion is.
Right.
So this is a little bit closer to the more extreme language, save a deal versus blow up a deal. And it's telling exactly the person who's watching this hook what they're going to get when they get to the next part. So a core component of an intro or hook is you have to tell them what they're going to watch next. Tell them what they're going to watch next. Why are they going to stay here and listen to the next 30 seconds? So when you're writing your own intros, when you're coaching somebody on how to write their own intros, you have to make sure they understand that this piece of messaging has to tell somebody exactly what's coming next so they know what they're getting involved in. That make sense?
Absolutely.
So, right here, this arrow is a transition. And when you deliver a strong hook, you have to transition. And I use similar language around this, which is simplistically, let me tell you a story. Or in this case, you might say, let me explain. It takes 2 seconds, half a second to get that out, but it transitions nicely into this. And then you could walk through this in a more conversational way. So, realtors, here are 4 ways a jumbo loan is going to save your next deal. Let me explain. If you've ever worked with a condo, you understand that you know blah blah blah. And did you know that jumbo doesn't affect that? You could do a jumbo loan at a conforming level and save your condo. Sometimes our jumbo product's priced better than our conventional product, which means your customer who has got a DTI issue or you know might get better pricing, and we can even underwrite with bank statements or asset depletion, which can give somebody who's marginally qualified a way to buy a house. So next time, you know, and then now you're here. Does that make sense? Do you see how I kind of flow through that?
Yep.
Questions so far on that?
No, it's clear.
Okay. So what we're going to do now for the rest of this session is we're going to write 4 to 5 more of these scripts. And then we're going to transition to the, whatever that magic room over there is, to the studio, and we're going to film them all. Okay? Where do you want to go next?
Well, do we want to finish this one, or do we want to start with...
Well, so you have two...
You want to do the intros on 3 others?
Yeah, because here, let me walk you through this. Where I want to get you is, I don't want you to have to script the whole thing. I want you to get into the science of writing good hooks,
And then take it from there.
and then just talk to me like a person, but have some direction. Like have a place you're taking me. But have you seen people that have read scripts and they're just very robotic on film?
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of my shortcomings, I think.
Yeah, and so to get through that, you want to get more and more unscripted over time. And sometimes people just need that crutch of a script, and that's fine. But to get more and more unscripted, have a hook that's scripted and tight, and then have bullet points almost of what you want to walk through next, so you can stay on track, and then land the ship organically.
Okay.
So let's knock out a few more.
Let's go with the comp and the EPO
Great
deal. So from an intro,
We know the audience, right?
yeah,
It's
loan
an LO.
officers,
Yep.
right? Loan officers, are you concerned with losing your commissions? Would that be an appropriate hook?
Yeah. How would you make that stronger or scarier?
Loan officers, are you worried about having to pay back commissions you've already earned?
Okay. Scarier.
Loan officers, you worried about not being able to pay your mortgage next month because your company took your commissions back?
Much scarier. I like it. Here's another more. So what you're saying in there is you're saying, are you concerned, right? Effectively, are you concerned or are you worried? Okay, which is a possibility. So you're talking about a possibility in your hook, a scary possibility. To make it even more scarier, make it a definitive scary. So a possible scary is, are you worried that they're going to take your commission back when the EPOs hit the market? A definitive scary is
How many?
your commission. It's not when. It's how much of your
Right.
commission.
How
is gonna
many
be
of your
taken back.
commissions are going to be taken back in the next 6 months?
Yep.
When the refi rally continues.
And so
starts.
it's saying it's being much more like you have a problem. Not you may have a problem. You have a problem. And so let's try to write a definitive version of this hook.
So loan officers, how much of your commissions are you going to lose in the next 6 months?
As rates go down.
As a refi rally gets going,
Yep. Exactly.
or as rates go
Yep. So to write it out a little bit, you would say
down. LOs.
LOs, what makes loan officers. What'd you say?
How much of your commissions are you going to lose over the next 6 months as the rates go down?
How much commission are you going
To pay or to pay
have
back?
To pay back. Yep. To have to pay back. When
Over the next 6 months when the market
rallies.
turns.
Yeah. Over the next 6 months. That's a great one. Now, what would you say after that, as we move over here? What are the bullet points? What are we going to talk about?
We would talk about how we are seeing a lot of companies in the market. I'm not going to label them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that it's every company, but we are seeing a lot of companies have imposed a policy in your comp plan
Yep.
that says if a customer pays off their loan within, I think a lot of them are, 6 months, 3 to 6 months, the company has the ability to charge back your commissions.
So I wrote down EPO policy exists, 3 to 6 months window,
Charge back.
charge back. So the way that you might, when we go in there to flow, right, you would say, LOs, do you know how much money, do you know how much commissions you're going to be paying, you're going to have to pay back if the market rallies in the next 6 months? Not every loan officer reads their EPO policy. It's in your contract. It exists. And most EPO policies have a 3 to 6 month window where that company, if your loan's paid off, will charge you back the commission you've earned. Pre-tax? Post-tax.
Right.
And so let this be, and then the call to action close would be what?
Dig into your compensation plan, make sure you fully understand it, and if there is an opportunity where you would like to have a conversation, reach out, because we don't have something to the effect that we don't have an EPO policy.
Yeah.
We're not charging back our loan officers, and we're committed to that.
So I realized I didn't run through this structure. Let me hit you with it, because then it'll give you some guidance. So a call to action on this exact example would be exactly what you said. So this is a wake-up call. Go grab your contract immediately, and if you see something in you don't like, get in touch with me, because Loan Depot has 0 chargeback clauses. We do not have a chargeback clause for EPOs at all at Loan Depot. And if your policy is not as competitive, we should probably have a conversation, reach out. So the call to action is like, call me, right?
Right.
And the call to action up here for like a realtor
Call me.
or a consumer would be like, so get in touch with me today, and I can walk you through all these different things that we talked about and show you how to be prepared for it if you ever meet a customer like this. Or the close is sometimes you're like, I don't want to do a call to action. Like, it's like, Jesus, like, call me. So instead, you just say, so let's be a wake-up call for you loan officers out there. Go check your contract. Have a great day. And you don't put a call to action. You just
Well,
And the video.
it was an action for them to go look at their contract.
Sure, but like you get the nuances here is not everything has to be a call me.
Right.
It can just be like you're being a good human, and you still have to land the plane though. You still got to get off the video. So there doesn't always have to be though a call me. That's my point. Okay, this is a good one. Let's do another one. We're running out of space. Where do you want to go next? Pick a topic. You want to make a video for a loan officer to use?
For them to use.
Well, you're going to use it, but would you?
You talking about like along the first-time homebuyer
Yeah.
front here? Yeah, I mean, we could talk about down payment requirements for first-time homebuyers. We could talk about
Do you work with a lot of first-time home buyers?
some.
Yeah.
I do a lot of jumbo business, but I do have some first-time homebuyers occasionally.
Well, pick a topic that you care about. Don't let me push you down one hole. Pick one that you want to do for yourself.
We could talk about the loan limits that just got increased to 802,
Yeah.
allowing a first-time homebuyer with only 3% down to,
Okay.
purchase in
So
that price range.
let's use this space right here. Why don't you hit me with an intro for them? What matters to them? You said home buyer, right? What do we do for the consumer? Yeah. Okay. What do they care about? What does this mean to them?
Being able to stop renting, own a home.
Yeah.
So homeowners want to stop renting, want to stop throwing your money away on rent.
So you can do two options here. You can tie in an intro to a general consumer need or want, which is I don't want to rent anymore, right? And then you can talk a little about anything on here.
Right.
Because it's flexible enough to go anywhere you want. So that's fine. You can do a generic intro about their normal wants and then tie that into a thing about programs or a thing about their income or a thing about their credit. And the close can be, if you don't know where your credit's at, call me, we'll get you on a plan. If you don't have enough down payment or don't know, call me, we'll walk through a budget. But you can also do an intro that's specific to loan limits. So the loan limits went up from 7 to 803? 7 what?
What was it? 765 to 802, I think.
So how much more
750.
buying power is that?
What do we got? Another $40,000 to $50,000 of purchasing power with minimal down payment.
So an intro right here could be the government just gave you $40,000 more buying power. Okay, interesting. But that's an example of tying it directly to the loan limits. So it's not just about the loan limits. It's like, this is now yours. Let me talk about the loan limits. But what do you think? But let's write whatever you want. What do you think is most connecting to a consumer today with this loan limit increase? What's the most beneficial thing for them?
Well, one of the big complaints I hear from consumers is that the cost of housing is escalated.
Yeah.
Right. So this is the government limits trying to keep pace with that.
Yep. So maybe something about affordability.
Yeah, affordability is out the window here in California, but
I know, but it helps. It's a nudge.
so
Do you think consumers care about the loan limits going up?
not directly?
So another intro.
I think they're probably more. The big topic at hand right now is the Fed rate reduction and how that is impacting, or how it doesn't impact mortgage rates, right? So
That's a great topic. You want to hit an intro on that one?
Yeah, I might as well. I was going to do that anyways.
Okay.
So
What's the intro aha comment here?
Surprise, the 0.5% Fed rate cut does not affect mortgage rates the way you thought.
Sure. Or you could say something like the Fed's lowered rates and the Fed's lowered the rates. The Fed's lowered the prime rate and mortgage rates went up.
Yeah.
It's like, write it down whatever you want.
So we'll say shocker.
I like that.
Fed drops rate 0.5%. Mortgage rates go up.
That's great. Shocker, the Feds drop rates 50 basis points and mortgage rates went up. Now, you got to ask them a question. You made a statement, but like, am I trying to explain this to somebody?
Yeah, that's going to be just an explanation of.
Yep, great. So
Of
what
its
would be
amount, so-
some bullet points that you're going to explain?
So we've got mortgage rates closely tied to 10-year, not Fed.
Yep, great bullet point. Now, what's next?
Market already saw this coming,
Yep.
so rates have adjusted over the last 3 months.
Yeah,
in
so maybe how
anticipation.
does the 10-year and the Fed rate affect each other, or how do they trend? You want to address that in the second point?
Yeah, so 10-year's been trending down. 10-year trending down over previous, we'll say, 3 months.
Yep. And now the last bullet point before you close is why should someone care, or how can someone predict rates then? What should I be focused on? If I shouldn't focus on the Fed rate, what should I be focused on?
Back to what the 10-year is doing.
Yeah, so something like, so if you really want to keep your eye on mortgage rates, focus on the 10-year.
Right.
Who's your audience on this one again? Consumers?
Yeah, well, it could be real estate agents too.
Good. So what's the close?
Mortgage rates follow 10-year. Whoops. Well, this would be, have questions, reach out to me. This would be
That's great.
This would be a call to me.
That's great.
So, still have questions?
Yep.
Reach out.
All right, let's do one more on recruits.
Let's do tech.
Great.
So,
We can write the intro. We'll do the intro right down here.
Okay.
We'll figure out where the bullet points go.
so
Now, all right, audience obviously is other LOs, right?
right.
Is there a part of tech you want to talk about, or address a tech ecosystem? You want to address a small piece of the tech that makes your life better? What do you think is the biggest thing that you want to convey?
Well, let's just focus on POS for this one.
Okay.
And I guess the intro or the question would be, does your company have their own technology,
Okay.
or are they using somebody? Is your company reliant on somebody else's tech?
Yeah. Make it more aggressive.
Is your company's outdated technology slowing you down?
Good. Tighten it. Make it shorter.
Is your tech causing you to lose deals?
I like that. That's a really good one. Make it
Are
definitive.
you losing? How many deals have you lost because of your tech? Because of your outdated tech?
Yeah, there you go. That's better. You could say things like, "You're losing deals because you're using outdated mortgage tech." Right? That's the more
Sure.
That's definitive. You could say, "When are you going to have enough with working with outdated mortgage tech?" What was the first one you said? Just.
How many deals have you lost due to outdated tech?
Yeah, and so you might have someone hearing that be like, "Well, I've lost no deals." But what about
Struggling to capture deals with outdated tech.
yeah? Or what about time?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking time-wise.
Yeah.
So,
How much time have you lost this year so far working with outdated tech, mortgage tech?
losing time on outdated tech.
Yeah.
Yeah. Using out.
So you could say
Tech.
you're losing time using outdated mortgage tech, or do you
Or
even
would
know?
this be a question here? Losing time using outdated tech?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, what's the story or explanation on?
How long has it been? 10 years since Mello was created?
Yeah.
So 10 years ago, we invested in ourselves to create
The leading tech
industry
platform.
leading
Yeah.
platform.
Yep. So make some bullets.
It was 10 years ago, right?
Yep.
And I heard some numbers thrown around that were staggering, like 400 million or some shit like
100
that.
million.
100 million? An industry leading tech platform.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. What else?
A fully customized system that can be adapted as the market changes.
Okay, but tie it back to the benefit to the LO. Why does the LO care that we did this?
Gives you more time back in your day to prospect and less time
Yeah.
working loans.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah. Mello gives you more time to prospect, improve your quality of life, and less time stuck in a system watching the wheel of death spin.
God, my handwriting's getting worse and worse as I
No,
go
it's
down.
okay. Now, last thing before the close is
Want to see a demo?
exactly where I was going to go. Don't take my word for it.
Schedule a demo today.
Yeah, don't take my word for it. Schedule an anonymous demo right now and see for yourself. That's it. Done. So does this format make sense?
100%.
Yeah, and so when you combine the content strategy with the format, and then you start to realize that you get to go back to these topics. So this is the thing that I want to kind of end with. We're going to take pictures of this. We're going to go film a bunch of content. But where I want you to like kind of land on and come back to is there are certain topics up here that are always more relevant than others in the scheme of things. So a lot like down payment. It's a big one for consumers. It's a huge amount of money they got to come up with. So a loan officer can talk about this frequently. They can use different hooks. They can use different stories. They can talk about clients' experiences. They can talk about the first-time home buyer that thought they had a 20% down and they did it for 0. They can make this video 1,000 times, and it doesn't go bad. You can talk about this stuff over and over again, and just because you did one video on tech doesn't mean they saw it. And so this is part of where you get down into frequency and velocity of posts. And this is where you're going to have to challenge yourself and find out where you're going to personally fall on this, because my belief, having been as active as I am for almost 7 years now on social, is that frequency matters. Because people aren't staring at every piece of content you make and consuming it. They're going right by it.
Yeah, you got to redo and repost the same content over and over again.
And so you really got to find your passion points, the areas that you're like, because in this stuff, all these things are important, but maybe for you, it's like you just really care about these 3 things. Like these 3 things are what set you apart, drive your culture, help your team win. And so that's what you should talk about on a frequent basis. You don't need to get down into certain things if it doesn't matter as much to you as others, but the spread is still there. And so you could talk about this every week. You could be talking about down payment, and never, it would not be too much. Make sense?
Of course.
Okay, you ready to film some content?
Let's do it.
All right, bring it in. Boom. Never feel like you have to, don't go too deep. Stay up here.
How much of your earned commission are you going to have to pay back over loans that you closed, and if it happens within that time frame, you could lose your commission that you've already been paid.
All right, brother.
We're back.
We're back in beautiful wherever this is. So this is kind of the debrief section. But what I really try to do and why I schedule this is, I'd love for you to share kind of what stood out for you today, what you kind of picked up on today, what you learned today, and really, what would be helpful for other people who are, trying to do what you're doing, run a great team, kick ass, produce, help people. What stood out for you today?
Well, we touched on a few things. It wasn't just all about, social media. So definitely, identified some areas where, I could increase my focus for, running the team better. And we also spent some time, really diving into an uncomfortable area for me, which is video, and what to say and how to say it. And it certainly helps being able to break it up and and have multiple takes. But it's a work in progress. It's something that I got to keep doing.
So how did you feel about walking through the office, filming yourself?
A little awkward, but I'm sure that's just the nature of the game, right?
I love that perspective, and yes, like a lot of the game is uncomfortableness, but a lot of sales is uncomfortableness. And when we can help great salespeople understand that those are connected uncomfortables, we can start to manage it better because you've gone through extreme discomfort to get where you are in your career. Building relationships takes time and discomfort. Telling everybody what you do is discomforting. But as you push through that and you manage what's important, you end up being able to do things that you never thought you could do before, and then it expands new horizons. And most of video is reps.
Sure.
I mean, breaking it up. So what we were talking about when we were talking like not breaking up the video, the future state is when something is breaking, and some current, meaning like breaking news, like something's happening right now, and you want to make content to address it and to share thoughts and opinions about it. You can't hire a film crew and like get to and start to like script out the whole thing. You got to just be able to go, and that's the end game of this thing is how do I make sure I know how to format things, and then how can I just naturally just produce content. What are you going to take back to your team? What do you think? What do you think is helpful for your team that you're leading?
Well, I think the structure for the videos is definitely key. As many times as we've gone through topics, I think it was helpful to script it out and break it down and give a little bit of forethought to the planning and what you're going to say. So I think doing that with the team and leveraging our our new LD edit technology,
why not?
I think is definitely takes a lot of the a lot of the concern out of doing videos, because you can film all the content you want, but if you don't edit it into something that somebody wants to watch,
doesn't move as fast.
It's not going to work. So that's really cool, and just encouraging the rest of the team to utilize that technology.
That's it. What are your initial thoughts? Because I know you're gonna bake this and think about it, but what are your initial thoughts on what structure you might want to be inputting into your life to get more frequent in the social world?
I think it comes down to something as simple as time blocking on a calendar. Setting some time, just like we did today.
Yeah.
Block out the day, and this is what we're going to do, and knock out a bunch of filming at once, as opposed to trying to spread it out during multiple days of the week. So
I'll give you a thought and some encouragement on this, because I distinctly remember call nights back in the day, and no one wanted to come in for call nights.
But they'd come in for pizza.
They'd come in for pizza, or your boss was kind of a hard ass and you were coming into call nights. It was like, get your ass in here and we're doing call nights. And then at the end of every call night, I always left with a feeling of accomplishment. Like I did something. I got loans. I made contacts. I did what I knew. Like I was grateful. Right. It's like getting up early and going to the gym when you don't want to. Afterwards, you always feel great.
Sure.
I'm convinced that video call nights of like whoever is going to be willing to get in there on your team at whatever day and time, where it's like, hey, I'm going to come with intros, I'm going to come with some script ideas, I'm going to come with stuff, and we're all filming for an hour, and we're going to share ideas, and we're going to bounce each other off. Like I'm going to watch you doing it, you're going to see me doing it we're going to be doing it. I think there's something to that momentum that can help people get through this.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's definitely some comfort having, your peers there together, cheering you on and helping you with, the scripting and
well, especially now that you've gone through this,
Yeah.
you can actively coach the LO more than anybody else. You can sit there and be like, hold on, no, say that again, do it again, and you could give them pointers because you've now taken a step forward, and you can always pull someone up right behind you.
Absolutely.
Anything else stand out?
Stand out. I mean, cut that out, I guess. 'Cause I don't know.
Well, I'll just say this. You make a tremendous impact on the communities you serve, dude. Your team, the amount of leadership you show at Loan Depot, like you have a ton of talent, a ton of heart, a ton of competitiveness, and it's been awesome for me to work alongside you for so many years. And I've just got to tell you that the more people that get experience and exposure to Brian Border, the more everyone's success rises. And if you take anything from this whole day and all this content and all this stuff, it's my heart and desire to watch you continue to expand your reach, because the more people that get in your ecosystem, the more success they have.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate the time, and you know, it's good to have this session today to kind of refocus me on what I know needs to happen. You know, you gotta keep, you know, driving forward. So.
Well, dude, keep the content coming. Inspire your team. They'll come right along behind you.
Yeah.
And as soon as you know it, you'll have way more success and abundance than you've had in the past. And it's just because more people will know how great you are. So I appreciate you, buddy.
Very cool. Thanks for spending the day. Hey loan officers, here's 4 ways that a jumbo loan is going to save your next deal. Loan officers, how much of your commission that you've already been paid, have you ever had condo projects that are not approved with Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac? As an originator, using this technology, it's completely changed my life. Reach out and let's see what it can do for you.
Brand new.